Okay. I think we're recording. Fingers crossed. We are recording. I can see it transcribing my chat. I'm going to turn that off. Okay, so welcome everybody, and thank you for coming. Nice to see you. This is the Creative Play Working Group, session number 1. And as I said in the emails that I sent around about this group and the idea behind it, the intention, if I move on to my next slide, the intention is to create a space where we can play with our creativity like our students do. And it occurred to me during the conference that I just almost never get time to do that now, and that I wanted to as well. It's fun. I'm always saying how important it is for the students to just do sort of low pressure explorations of creativity, and within their like work space within the class, not just okay, now go off on your own, but no, let's make time to just be creative together in class. I think it has a really big impact on students. I see that happening. So I thought we could do it too. I thought it would be fun. And in addition to being fun, I thought it might be useful because it would help us to see the creative exercises from the students' perspectives, which, it's easy to lose sight of that or not find time to mentally put yourself in the student's shoes when your workload is huge and you've got pressure. So I thought that would be a useful thing. And for me, it's always really useful just to keep that refreshing, that portfolio of creative exercises that I can go to as well. So I thought we could help each other out on that side of it. I'm just going to turn my email off so it doesn't go bing bong. Oh, actually, no, I shouldn't. I shouldn't turn my email off because people are emailing me saying that they can't get in. So hold on a second. Let me just answer that. Hold on. Okay. I think I have to give people a passcode. Let's see if I can do that.
I've never used this platform before, but I just had to click the link and I got in fine.
Yeah, that's what always works for me as well. But I've got some people saying that they need a passcode to get in, so I'd better send that around. Hold on just a sec. I'm going to send that around to the entire mailing list just in case. Oh, I have. Okay, good. Okay, I've sent the passcode around to the entire mailing list. So now we might get a few more people dribbling in. So I'll continue slowly, go at a slow pace. Where was I? Yeah, I just thought this would be useful. A useful way to broaden our portfolios of creative exercises that we can use in the classroom, as well as having fun and doing creative stuff ourselves. So for today's exercise, this is an exercise that I've done with MA students in the past, and I did it in my class that was focused on more unconventional narrative structures, which is my main thing. And the aim of this exercise was to get students thinking at that sort of macro structural plot level, thinking about the whole narrative as one thing, as one piece, which is something that I think takes them quite a long time to get to grips with. And you'll need something to write with, as I have said. And for this, the sort of feedback and discussion portion of this class, here are a couple of questions, but you don't really need to remember these. Well, I'll come back to this at the end, but I thought, you know, put them out there at the start. Here are a couple of things that I would quite like feedback on. Is it helpful or unhelpful to be given the protagonists? That the meaning of that will become clear. To be given the protagonists rather than being asked to imagine your own protagonists. It's a question that I have for this exercise. We'll see what it means. And how useful are the character prompt questions in this exercise as well? I kind of just plucked some character prompts out of thin air, and they seem quite good to me, but I'd be interested in some feedback to see what you guys think, if they're maybe too prescriptive, or if you can just suggest some better ones, or if you think they work really well, that'd be useful to hear as well. So this exercise is inspired by this film, A Touch of Sin, by Jia Zhangke. That's the best pronunciation I can do. Which, if you don't know it, it was nominated for the 2013 Palme d'Or, and it won the Best Screenplay Award at Cannes in 2013. It's a brilliant film, I think, on many levels. Very beautifully constructed, and it deals with rapacious Chinese capitalism and its impacts, its human impacts. This link should take you to a sort of 2-minute YouTube clip of the first scene from the film. And I think when you try to show a clip over Teams, it doesn't work that well. The sound can be a bit rough, or it can be a bit laggy. So what I suggest is just click on that link yourselves. If it doesn't work, let me know and I'll put it in the chat or something. But just go and watch that first scene as just a kind of primer for this exercise. It'll take about 2 minutes. Rex is saying it says it's unavailable. It says the clip's unavailable. Is it working for other people? It is. Just see if I can find an alternative one. I'll see if I can find another clip. Hold on. That might be a different clip there. I think it is. Cafe One.
It's working for me, Chris. Just if that's helpful to know.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe it's a Wi-Fi thing, Max. Hey, Paul. Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see you. Sorry, I guess I'm going to fail the first class because I'm late.
Get out, Paul. How dare you?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No worries. Nice to see you. We haven't quite started the exercise yet. I was just introducing the exercise and telling everybody that the exercise is inspired by this Jia Zhangke film, A Touch of Sin. And I was asking people to go and watch the this 2-minute clip of the first scene, which is linked just down at the bottom of the screen there.
Wow, it works. Okay.
And I'll just leave another 2 minutes so that Paul has time to watch it, and anyone else, since I've talked over. since I've talked over it all. I'll shut up for 2 minutes. Okay, so that's the opening scene of A Touch of Sin, and this is a representation of the plot of the entire film. So what we just saw there was most of the opening hook or prologue, which it's cut off a little bit at the start and the end of that clip. The whole thing runs for almost exactly 4 minutes. And the protagonist of that opening prologue is Zhao San. And you may have noticed that at the end of that prologue scene, Zhao San crosses paths with Dahai and hands over to Dahai, and Dahai becomes the protagonist of the first story proper of the film. And there are 4 stories in total. And the timings of those sections of the plot are on the screen now. So the Dahai story is the longest of the 4, 36 minutes. Maybe a little bit longer because we need to, you know, relax into the tone and mood and genre of the film, perhaps. Lasts for 36 minutes. And then Zhao San, the protagonist from the prologue, he takes over as protagonist of the second story. So it's a really nice, harmonious handover structure. We then get a 24-minute long story, which he is the protagonist of. And so that accounts for the first half of the film, almost exactly 1 hour for the 2 stories, and then 4 minutes for the prologue. And then at the end of his story, there's another handover. So Zhao San is on a bus traveling between cities. He gets off the bus, camera stays on the bus and focuses on a male character. And the male character is having an affair with Zhao Yu. And Zhao Yu, who he then meets, is the protagonist of the third story. So it's another nice, really neat little handover. Her story lasts almost exactly 30 minutes. Then there isn't a handover for the last for the last story, for Zhao Hui's story, and he isn't really connected to other characters for the film, which I think is really the only flaw in the structure of the film, and it feels a little bit anticlimactic because of that. It's just connected by theme to the other stories. But in terms of duration, again, it's beautifully, harmoniously balanced. And then Zhao Yu, the protagonist from the third story, becomes the protagonist for this little 4-minute epilogue or coda sequence. So you can see it's the way that Jia Zhangke has structured the film is beautifully balanced. It's like a sonnet or a villanelle or something. It has the beautiful weighting of well-composed poetry, but at the narrative macro structural level. I think it's an astonishingly good achievement in structuring. So here is your task, your creative play task for this session. You can ignore how completely unrealistic this task. I haven't gone for realism in the task. However, you've been hired to write a consecutive stories narrative, and 4 actors are already attached to the project, and you must write with them in mind. But apart from that, you have free rein. So you've got to write to this structure for these actors that I am going to give you. Aside from that, you do whatever you want. And the narrative must have 6 parts, same as A Touch of Sin: a prologue, story 1, 2, 3, and 4, and an epilogue. So I'm going to give you your protagonists for each of those parts, and I'm going to give you about 2 minutes with each protagonist. You'll get a film, a still image of an actor. You'll get about 2 minutes just to think about who this character is, you know, just kind of automatic writing, getting thoughts down on the page. And then that will take about 10 minutes or so. And then when we've done that, I'll give you 15 minutes to just start outlining the film as a whole, looking at it from this macro structural level. Okay. So here is the protagonist of the hook or prologue. There you go. Take 2 minutes and answer those questions on the screen. Doesn't matter if you don't finish them, just 2 minutes, first thoughts. Okay. That's 2 minutes. Next one. Here is the protagonist for story 1, the first main story of the 4 stories. It's fronted by this guy. Take 2 minutes. Okay, I think that's 2 minutes for him. So that's protagonist for the prologue, protagonist for story 1. We come back to this character to be the protagonist for story 2. Take another 2 minutes with this character and just add to your thoughts about them. Okay. Next one. So we're halfway through this consecutive stories narrative now. We're handing over to this guy for story 3, because who doesn't like Michael J. Fox? There you go. So take 2 minutes with him. Okay. Next one, story 4, the last of the large scale stories in this narrative form, is J-Lo. Take 2 minutes with this character and write your first responses to them. Okay. Nearly done. Epilogue. We come back to this character for the epilogue. Take another 2 minutes with him and see what you think. Okay. So now you have some ideas for some characters, maybe how they might knit together. Take 15 minutes and outline an idea for a film of this structure. No pressure to finish, just start, see how far you get. And it might help to think about the theme that unites all of your stories, e.g. the brutality of rapacious capitalism as it is in A Touch of Sin. So there you go, take 15 minutes. Yeah, write it down in whatever form you want, note form, paragraph form, whatever works for you. No, don't need it in a document. It's just for you, just for to get ideas flowing. So I'm doing it too. I'm just writing it down in my notebook, and then we don't have to share them at the end. It's just to get creative juices flowing, you know. So you've got about 5 more minutes. 5 minutes. Okay, time's up. If you come to a stop, take a second if you want, if you're halfway through a sentence. Come to a stop, can. And that's it. I hope you liked that. I hope you liked the exercise. I did. I haven't done anything like that in ages. It was great.
Chris, have you used this in a class?
I have, yeah. I can't remember how it went. I can't remember if it felt like it was successful or not. It was a while ago that I used it. but I'd be very keen to hear how you guys experienced it, if it was infuriating and difficult to navigate, or fun. What did you think, James?
Oh, go to me first, right? Since my mic was on.
Exactly, yeah.
Not sure I needed the intro of the other film, but once I got rolling, I thought it was fun. I have a certain amount of background in improvisation, so I dived in pretty smoothly to it, and I felt like I wanted to ask you if it's okay if I try something like this in one of my classes.
Yeah, please. Yeah, that's one of my key aims, for share creative exercises. Yeah.
I think the only drawback to the exercise is the time we have. I think part of the fun of it is hearing everybody's brainstorms, and we don't have time to do that today.
We're not going to do that? I thought that was the whole point.
Well, a very common issue has arisen with my classes. This happens in like every class I teach, which is that we're running out of time because things take longer than I think they're going to take. But if people want to hang around a bit longer and share what we've done, go for it. I mean, I scheduled it for an hour, just sort of arbitrarily, really. But yeah, would you guys like to kind of share?
Sure. Actually, I already cast it and shot it. I'm not done with editing yet. So give me some time here. No. Yeah, I'm happy to hang around. I'm curious to hear if people are.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear.
I need to keep a few minutes.
Okay. Well, how about we do?
Can you hear me?
How about we do the feedback on what works well and what works less well about the exercise, and then if other people have time, we can just linger and do anything else.
I have to go in a few minutes, so I'll just say what I really liked it. Is my mic okay? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I thought it was pretty inspiring. It was also daunting because we had so little time, but in a way that helped provoke kind of like you have to come up with something. So not so much self-doubt and self-questioning. I think it would have been useful for, let's say it was a class, but since we had like a time before, if you said I liked seeing the film first. I thought it was interesting and inspiring. I think it would have been nice to like have sorry, now I hear my feedback, but it would have been nice to have the option to have watched the film before, so we even get more time with that. Like if you had said to us, oh, we're going to do this short thing, you don't have to watch it, but if you have time, this would be helpful. I think that could have been really good. I think just in general, it would have been nice and I don't know if you do this with your classes because you're probably not meeting online, but for everybody to connect first for a minute before jumping into the exercise, so we're not all these just little rectangles at the bottom of the screen. But I really liked it, and I actually deviated from the characters, but I liked that you had them for us to think about.
Yeah, I was going to say actually that when I do this with students, they do watch the film first and then do the exercise. So it was I didn't really think about suggesting that you guys watch the film first either, but that does make it much more intuitive. You have more of a felt sense of how these films work, and yeah, connecting before the exercise, I think that's a good idea as well, kind of loosening up a little bit. Yeah. Any other comments?
But I do like how you took something that's like this kind of story idea that I had never really thought of in such a, like, to make it so clear, like prologue, hook, story 1, story 2, story 3, 4, epilogue. And, to take something that seems so creative and so kind of broad, this like film that weaves these stories together and make it kind of understandable in a way that, oh, I could do that, so I like that you clarified it in the way you did.
Yeah, I find that really effective. Like looking at the little technical things about this character hands over to this character, and just focusing on the shaping of the narrative. I'm not sure why, but I just find that kind of releases ideas from my subconscious to like fill in the building blocks, you know. Yeah. Anyone else want to give some? Ruth? Yeah.
Yeah, I like the exercise a lot, and especially the idea of following the structure was very useful. I think I found it difficult that we had to develop the characters first, that we had to answer the character questions, because I found it more easy when they were just like on the screen we have right now. When you just have the pictures, it felt more free to me to imagine who they were and how they would have been connected than to have to answer the questions without knowing who was gonna come. Because I did get stuck a bit on, but how are they like thematically connected? And then because you start answering the questions, I changed it, but I don't know if I would need the character questions first, or maybe just the idea of the structure, and then just a very basic idea, even just a picture like this of a character would also already be inspiring, I think, for me.
Yeah, when I was sort of mentally going through the process before the class, and I was sort of thinking that actually maybe for this story, you need to be thinking about how the characters fit together rather than just one at a time. Ellen?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it a lot in terms of the fact that you did have to start with the characters. And I like the visual prompt. I like the fact you kept it visual because, you know, it is a visual medium. So I think it's really, really important. And the thing is that I did find by writing the characters, I found my theme through the characters, that it emerged from it. And I think if you had more time, that would be the case, is that you'd work with the characters and then you'd realize there was a commonality or a common thread, because I don't think it's something you can think first. I don't think you can think, I'm going to do this theme. I think it merges from the characters. So that did work for me very well. I mean, I found the only thing was I didn't really like it being recognizable actors, because that kind of put me off a bit, because I had to really get over the J-Lo thing. Like, I got a bit of a block there with her, because do you know what I mean? Like, so to me, I would like it just to be people's faces. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, not celebrities, because I had to do a little bit of kind of seeing them to try and get to a character that I wanted them to be, because my story wasn't about famous people. It was about just people, ordinary people. But I particularly like I think for me, the take home, the really big take home is, you know, that thing of not, you know, falling into that here's a protagonist and they're on a journey and this is a 3-act structure and something's got to happen to them, you know. So I really love the fact that you know, structurally you're showing me other possibilities of how to conceive creatively. So that for me, that's the biggest take home, and that it isn't that difficult either. I think because you broke it down, you demystified that kind of structure as well.
That's good to hear. That I like that. That's one of my key aims in class. Rex, you were nodding as if you agreed about the maybe not liking having the actors' faces to work with.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry if there's lots of background. Yeah, I don't recognise the first one, the young girl. So that was good as a start, because that made it easy. But yeah, Lawrence Fishburne, Michael J. Fox, you are thinking about the actors. I really liked it. I really liked the exercise. And as was said, you know, the theme came through once you started with one and made a clear decision on the first one. Either organically or otherwise, kind of was able to write the second and the third and then the fourth with the same kind of theme together. So I'm going to, if it's okay, I'm going to try it with my students in 2 weeks. I think we got something.
Yeah, please do it. Yeah.
So I thought if that was good. Yes. And more time would have been great, and obviously Sharon would have been great as well. Yeah, I understand about the restrictions, but yeah. No, good. That was a good flexing of muscles.
Right, good. Glad to hear it. Yeah, I was thinking actually that I could have done with like another 15 minutes or so to kind of keep going. Maybe because it's quite a lot, isn't it? Like 4 different characters and fitting them into a structure. So I guess you really do need time with that. It went rapidly.
Chris, I have to leave, so I did have one other point that I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, go for it.
This is interesting if other people felt this too. When I came upon the second character after the prologue, I thought, well, that'll connect to the first character, but am I allowed to do that, right? In other words, does it have to be so free that you don't know until you're done that they connect? Or can you have a preset feeling? My prologue character was running from someone, and then Lawrence Fishburne came up, and I thought, oh, well, that's perfect. She's running from him. So
yeah.
Is that something that is, can you advise students that if that happens, it's okay, or should you just leave it completely open? Or, what, I hope you know what I'm saying here.
Yeah, I do totally. Yeah, I think that for that structure, like as long as it's a new story, as long as the fact that Lawrence Fishburne is chasing, I think it's Thomasin McKenzie, I think that's the actress's name. If he's chasing her, but then that's the start of a different story that isn't about what the prologue is about, then I think it fits. I think the key is just that they're self-contained story nuggets, story units, like short stories, one after the other, but with connections between. Simon, did you want to chime in? Oh, can't hear you, Simon.
No, still not.
Yes, can hear you now.
You can hear me.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The fact that it was recognizable actors didn't faze me. It was interesting that I found that I was reading so much into their character just by looking at their faces and thinking about what was going through their mind at the time. And like you start with character, and I always say you've got to start with character. Always start with character, and that made me think about very much about how they connected. I kind of got a bit hooked up on that. Was that how they all intersected each other's lives, which I actually really enjoyed an awful lot. I don't think I got the theme about capitalism. I just really enjoyed figuring out ways that they could intersect each other's lives. So it was fun. It was huge fun.
Good. Get that. Well, that's a big tick for my aims. Good. Glad to hear it. Yeah, I only noticed once I started studying the variants to the kind of conventional story structure. I only noticed then that I was really came alive when dealing with very wide multiple protagonist stories that focuses on the ways that characters interconnect and where their lives kind of weave past each other, kind of, Nashville, Magnolia kind of a way. And it was only through kind of studying those narratives and then starting to just try them myself that it became clear that was a theme that was really important to me. I had no idea that theme was really important to me before stumbling across it, really. Paul, how about you? What did you think about it? How did it work for you?
I like when an exercise like this where you have parameters that are very specific, because it actually allows for the flowering of creativity within a framework. It's much better than here's a blank page, write something. That's interesting. So I thought it was helpful. I think as far as the pictures, what I've done is in one class about character, I get random faces from the internet and I show them to the students and I have them do a little profile, and then the exercise for the class is just to come up with a story that's just right for this character. What's going to be the old adage, make the character fit the story and the story fit the character. And what I do though is sometimes I know the stories behind those characters, and it's fascinating to see what do the students read in the face. It gets them to be observers, so that's helpful. Obviously with actors, they come away already with baggage, not bad baggage, but just they're going to see what the actors have played. But I had one couple. I didn't tell them they were a couple. There was a Russian journalist, a young woman, very free kind of looking, arty kind of face, and this really depressed guy. And it turned out that, I don't tell them this, but that the depressed guy is a bar owner who murdered her and then pretended that she wasn't murdered, pretended on Facebook that she was missing.
Oh, wow.
So I know that, so I asked them to just tell me what you see in the face, and some of them catch on that there's something going on, not between those two, but just the character of the guy. Anyway, I thought it was helpful, the refreshing exercise.
Well, I love the sound of your exercise too. I'm going to steal that one.
Okay.
The
Good.
murder reveal exercise.
Right.
So, does anyone want to share what they come up with? Anyone keen to do that?
I'm curious what people, I have my limited imagination, but I'll share a couple things if people are interested.
Yeah, go for it, Paul.
The first one, I give him a name. Daisy, the words were thoughtful, distracted, dazed, numb. And her special power is she can hear at a great distance using her special headphone. But she can hear everywhere. Her secret is that she set her pet cat free in a park for the sake of a lover who was allergic to cats, but who later deserted her. And first memory is climbing upstairs in an impoverished apartment. So I don't know. What did people want to share? I'm curious. What did you see in her face?
Yeah. Anyone else want to go?
Well, mine was very unoriginal because I just said I thought she was a musician. But what it was interesting is that her music kind of then threaded through all the other stories, because she was on her way to a gig that then becomes quite significant and becomes a kind of framing device. So I found that she was a kind of linking character. So mine wasn't so much every single story was totally standalone. They were all slightly interconnected. And then from the characterization, what I realized is that in each of the cases of the characters, what came through was that they were all saving each other. And that my big theme was other people can save you. And what I would say is a lot of the characterization stuff I came up with is a bit cliched and not particularly amazing. But I do really like the idea of doing a story about other people can save you. So that's my take home. Actually, that's a theme I'm really interested in working with. And because I've found a lot of things very negative recently, I don't know if anyone else, I can't even listen to the news anymore. It's so awful. And then I thought, yeah, actually, what's been nice is that I've been looking for a while to think about, how do I get myself out of this kind of negative trajectory? And this has been really good because I thought, actually, I do want to write about people who save other people.
Yeah.
So, I'd probably revisit and I would go back to these. I would change these characters quite a lot and I would rework them and I would think more about that theme. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. But weirdly, I started with the characters. The characters then gave me the theme, and then I'll go back to working with the characters again in a different way.
That's so positive. That's really wonderful that you have that positive theme there. My plot involved her hearing a murder plot, and then having to take action. And yet she's a shy inner person who doesn't ever want to leave the apartment. So she reaches out to the detective, who's number 2. But mine was a lot more dark than yours, but I agree with your assessment of the world.
Me too. Yeah, I had that she was a creative, idealistic, polite, tentative, pure of heart loner, and that her skill was that she can see into people's hearts and their souls to their true essence unerringly. I didn't get a secret that I liked for her, but I had an earliest memory of her catching frogs in a November pond, and I have no idea why my subconscious threw that up, but there's a reason. There's a reason that I can find if I delve deep enough. And then the Lawrence Fishburne character was sort of also as sort of connecting to her and making a kind of counterpoint to her. I had that he's kind of brave and honorable and calm and assertive, and that his skill is that he never gives up or backs down from anything, no matter what, and that he's the kind of that he has that she would kind of need that quality that he then has, and that they kind of maybe they only cross paths, but they fit together in the sense that he demonstrates what she has to acquire. And maybe I would find a similar thing for him. Maybe the skill that he has to acquire would be in her or in one of the other characters from the structure. There we go. How about Rex and Simon? You want to share?
Well, it's funny, Ellen. Sorry, Rex. Sorry. Apologies, Rex. It's funny, Ellen, because I started with much the same, or ended up with the same kind of theme that you did. I was these people in a strange kind of way, kindness of strangers. They all interlocked and helped each other. Is that the prologue? I thought she was sitting on a plane, so I had this idea that I gave her a name. I called her Jenny. That she was flying in to a city, and then everything connected from that. All these people were in a city, apart from the Lawrence Fishburne character, who has a print shop in the city. All the others were people who were just going through the city, and they all interconnected, but they were all ultimately helping each other.
Nice. So there's a kind of transience.
Yeah, but also, I don't know, maybe there's something in the air. We're both trying to be positive stories.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think the fact that you've got all these different people though, and a chance to have more than one protagonist means that the emphasis does become about kind of humanity, maybe a cross section of humanity more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you start to inherently, the narrative is looking at how people fit together and how groups of people work together. It has to. Nice that you have positive views on how people fit together. Well done. Rex, how about you, man? Do you want to share?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I thought. Well, I'll read out what I wrote. Sorry, I can't see. You've disappeared. Where are you? There you go. Yeah. So I thought the girl was 14. Her name is Alyssa Ortega, and she's autistic. You know, I took those headphones as autistic, and she listens to. So she has trouble communicating, and she listens to music, but she only listens to Pink Floyd because her first memory was watching Another Brick in the Wall that her father showed her. But she falls for the most popular boy in class in school, and but he doesn't know she's alive. So that's the prologue. And then the second one was Lawrence Fishburne's character. His name is Giles Jackson, and he's happily married, but he can't communicate to his wife Lila that he's not in love with her anymore. So he pretends to be a dutiful husband, but he secretly seeks out and sees prostitutes. He pretends he's a dutiful, and he feels trapped in his marriage because he works for his father-in-law. So it's all kind of connected, and he feels trapped. He sneakily seeks out and sees prostitutes. And then he sees his father-in-law come out of a prostitute place. I don't know what it's called, but you know. And then he begins to bribe him to get out of his marriage. So that's the first half hour. And then the second goes back to Alyssa, and she sees her love interest in a band, play in a band, and she kind of imagines him being Syd Barrett from Pink Floyd, even though he's not. And then that propels her to go and approach him and communicate with him. And will a mutual love of music bring them together? I don't know. And then Michael J. Fox is a cop called Henry Green, and he's got a secret that he killed the killer of his wife, his first wife. That's as far as I got with that one. And then J-Lo is a prostitute, the prostitute that both Giles and the father-in-law see. And then there might be a connection with Michael J. Fox as well, but I'm not sure. Didn't get that far.
Yeah, it's nice, especially when you get onto the fourth character in this structure, if you can start kind of sewing connections back to as many of the other characters as possible, which A Touch of Sin doesn't do, and which, as I said before, I think is kind of the one flaw, I think, in what is otherwise a really incredibly balanced film. Did you see like a theme coming out of what you were coming up with, Rex?
Yeah, it was about people who can't communicate in things they should communicate about. So once I got the autistic thing there in the communication, then I was thinking as I was building the other characters how that would fit that topic or the elements of that, and how each character would have a relationship with that, secrets, communication, all that kind of stuff. So that was imbued in every single character. But it came from the start, and I'm not sure how I ground it off, but you know, I didn't have enough time to at least do that.
Yeah, awesome. It's really nice doing this with other writer teachers, because everyone is like, oh yeah, I see the thing coming out, you know, you're all on the ball. It's great. Well, shall we wrap it up there? Yeah.
That makes sense. No, it's great to hear how people take the same material and work it in different ways. It's always surprising what the human mind, human creativity can do. And I wouldn't, if you don't mind, I want to share this one story I had. Not this kind of exercise, but it was an adaptation class. And as an exercise, I played for them an audio recording of an interview I had with a police detective that I got in the 80s that inspired me to write the first script that I sold. And so I took this story that he had and turned it into a screenplay, and it was a viable screenplay. And I didn't tell them that. I just told them, turn this into a treatment. You know, what do you get out of it? And nobody, I thought I approached it, the story, the only really way it should have been. But nobody even came close. Out of 10 students, I mean, there was nothing like what I did. And that was fascinating. One of them was there was a murder. Obviously, it was a detective. And one of them created this comedy out of it that was hilarious. So anyway, I saw the same thing here. It's fascinating.
Yeah. What was the story from the police detective?
Well, what made it interesting, this guy was on a missing persons case for missing a 44-year-old woman, and he asked the children asked if he could talk to a psychic, and the guy was like, sure, yeah, I want to come too. And the psychic made these predictions, and the predictions wind up coming true. So I fashioned it into a story where it was more cause and effect. It was a kind of a scary supernatural detective story, and the psychic was the best friend of the woman who was missing, who wound up being murdered. They found her dead. But what this one student did was she took that and she told the whole story from the point of view of the dead woman, who is reaching out to the living psychic to try to guide her to the murderer.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I mean, and it was a comedy, so it was like so well done, and a much more inventive take on it than I did. So that was the story. Everybody else did a lot of different things. So
yeah, it's so interesting seeing how, you know, just your different tastes and experiences, as well as your subconscious brain and the things that you just have to get out of yourself, just shift the same material in a different way. Okay, we will wrap it up there. I will finish the recording.
Thanks, Chris.
Stop recording.
It's a great work.
Thank you for kicking it off.